Good evening. You are listening live to a Runaway Train, our 1985 movie here on the Extreme Movie Show that we're going to be hosting. Of course, that's me, Rob, from Pine Hills Palace, just west of Orlando, Florida. I've got from the Great Midwest one, RDV to it. And RDV, I got to tell you, I love Kenneth Films here as an 80s-based channel. We'll sit there and tell everybody in our audience who votes, who shows up, who comments, makes suggestions. We'll cover anything, even if it's a bad film, even if it's a Hallmark film, even if it's an international film, because God knows we love it. But one particular type of movie we love, and you're the 90s kid, while Pixel's the aughts guy, three generations of reviews. There's something special about what I like to call a canon film from the 80s. Those, ladies and gentlemen, we refer to as canon classics. RDV, I got to admit to you, even though I grew up in the 80s and I was fully aware of Eric Roberts and Jon Voight, who most recent movie we covered of his was Anaconda a few months back.
Yeah,
I don't believe I've ever seen Runaway Train, and I knew this is an Akira Kurosawa film, which is a big deal to all you nerds out there that like that sort of thing. Something like that, right? Seven Samurai, whatever. This is
Seven. He's the one that created all that stuff, and then Americans copied it.
This is a very what I'm going to call philosophical film because it's about two guys that break out of jail, and really, that's what happens to them. And you go, is it an action film? Because there's some great stunts. There's wonderful cinematography. There's some pretty good acting in here. A lot of great things to talk about. But I love this film. This is almost like Conan from 1982 with, with that which does not kill me makes me stronger. Yeah. I loved it. I think it's a great film. Oh my God, I didn't realize how great it was. What a gem.
The whole movie is like you have other side characters, yes, but the main characters is the Worden and Jon Voight. They are bitter enemies. And do you remember there was a movie with Stallone later in the years where they had Jim Caviezel was the Warden, and it was basically where Stallone goes undercover, he wants space, he's like I can break out of a prison, and that's kind of what this is. The Warden, from the very beginning we get the sense, that this prison is based off I forgot Quaza, whatever his name is. You just said it too. I can't pronounce. I always butcher his names, but. This was based off a book in the 1800s about a Russian prison that was so inhumane, and they decided to basically adapt it to film for this. And they'd heard about an actual runaway train like back in the 60s. So that's when the guy did the
Kurosawa.
Kurosawa decided to basically combine the ideas. He's like, because they're popular. What's the first thing we think of whenever we have people are running from the law? They jump on a train, or anybody trying to get away. They jump on a train. Yeah. Yep. And they combine those two things, train destruction or just, disaster movies like this with that was kind of cool. And it's nowadays you get a lot of CG stuff, which I really appreciated for this. The only thing that was kind of CG is when they're on the train and they're first getting on there, and you could see the snow coming down over them. Obviously, that's kind of like the same effect you got in the Rankin Bass whenever there's a strong wind, because they're not really out there in the elements for the most part. They are on a soundstage for some of the stuff. You can tell there's a green screen behind them, like in the old days. Mm-hmm. But because I'm thinking there's parts in here where Jon Voight is he's so manly that he's able to grab onto solid steel that's frozen and not get his hand stuck to it. It's
one of those things where you've got the two guys that basically it's this. You got Jon Voight who is in a prison, and it's something we've seen before, but there was something about it where you realize the Warden, the guy's name is Barstow, and for the geographically so inclined, Barstow out in the desert in California is a dump. Barstow was one of the bad names in Stephen King's Salem's Lot, and we have Barstow here. Here's the Warden, so you can associate evil with Barstow. I don't know if there's an actual connection with the name, but Barstow is the Warden, and typically you get a Warden that's an asshole or a jerk, or like Jim Caviezel in a Stallone movie or something. But this Warden was smart. He was every bit the equal of Jon Voight. And at first, Jon Voight, we think of as an animal because not only is he caged and locked up, they've welded his bars to the cell for years because
3 years.
An animal, right?
Yeah.
But there's something special about this movie, not just the Nietzsche quote at the beginning kind of and all that sets you up, that tells you this is going to be philosophical and about man's journey. I always talk about, the Joseph Campbell journey kind of thing a little bit. It's obviously very popular here in the 70s and 80s, I think, in storytelling. But you think of Jon Voight just being a nobody, because Jon Voight, he's not frail. I don't think he's physically imposing. He's what you would call as an actor, somebody who's just, I don't call him a physical actor. So he's somebody that really acts well with his face. He's very internal, like a Steve McQueen or something. I've mentioned that before. And the Worden says something early on that makes me go, this movie might be different, because we think it's going to be a breakout and there's a manhunt for him and that's it. So I'm like, okay, B-level popcorn film.
Yeah,
I was wrong. The guy makes a comment about something like, I only wish you would try to break out because then I could kill you. But he says it in such a way of like, he's not being a jerk. It's like a test of wills. And it's like they're surrounded by all these goofballs and all these typical human beings. It's like these two guys are titans just here on Earth looking to battle each other. But the Worden can't cheap shot him or do anything like that and doesn't want to. That's the beauty of it. The guy sees like Voight as the ultimate prey, and he's not psychotic or yelling or screaming. So what happens is he gets kind of set up with Eric Roberts, who might be, he's either very young and naive, he might be slightly mentally retarded, like a 90 IQ. It's hard to say, because there's illusions of him being rapey, which is why he was in.
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say, I don't think he's slow-minded. It's not like Lenny from Of Mice and Men. I think what it is, he's kind of never had anybody teach him right from wrong. He probably grew up without a father, or a father dead or deadbeat father.
You're right. He's directionless.
He's directionless, and he's also very like, he listens when actually someone, Jon Voight actually acts like almost like a parent to him, because Jon Voight could have killed him, but Jon Voight wasn't going to.
And he wasn't a part of the escape plan.
No, he wasn't. He was, and you could tell from this very beginning, Eric Roberts, the way he acts, he's a butthead.
Yeah.
He's kind of selfish, but he's also kind of like, he's not a jerk in a sense.
At the core, he almost doesn't seem like a bad guy. He just did a bad thing, whatever it might have been, or might have been taken the wrong way. Who knows? She said
the girl was underage, 15, and he was a little older. And I'm thinking, man, how long you been in there? Because if she's 15 and you're in your 20s, that's a rapist. I'm sorry.
No, it's not. That's not.
If you're Italy, it's okay. Sorry, that's a pedophile.
No, let's define
15 that. In your 20s.
Hey, it depends on what state you're in, and the laws were a lot younger back in that time, so it might have been 16, might have been age of consent, and he might have been 19 because he was in jail for a couple of years. So I mean, that's not that far off, and especially back then, it's still commonplace today, even really. So it's just one of those kinds of things, right? I just
true. We don't know how long he's been in there.
We don't know if he raped her or if it was just maybe they got caught by the parents and they reported it. We don't know, and that's the beauty of it, because what you said about him acting like a directionless kid to Jon Voight, almost like a father figure, you're absolutely right. And that's what's needed for the stories, to have these two put together.
What makes me think, though, that he might be an actual rapist is how he acts around Rebecca Dorme on Mornay when they come across her. It's like, how do you like to get fucked real hard? It's like, I don't know if he's trying to be a tough guy, but I think more like I said, it's kind of along the lines. It has come up kind of
there's levels of flirting, and that's almost probably not the right thing to say.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know how long he's been in there, and like I said, obviously his character looks like he's probably in his 20s, mid to late 20s. Eric Roberts is young in this movie, though. Man, the last time I saw him was Justified. Yeah, and seeing him like this in 1985. So it's always interesting to see him like this, because he's so young in this movie. But Jon Voight steals it, though. Jon Voight put on fake teeth and make it look like he was more harder, like more of a prisoner. Yes, the way he talks like this. We talked about him in Anaconda. He's harder in this than he is in Anaconda.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not even close. This one, you're legitimately frightened by. The other one, you're in on it. Is what the way I feel. Like
they get out because basically had the laundry. The laundry boy, Eric Roberts' character. He does the laundry. He hides Jon Voight inside the laundry bin. They see him out there, and then
did you see it when he goes in the elevator when he's trying to distract the guy with nudie magazines? Who that dude was? That big, huge, jacked guy.
That's his first appearance. I forget what his name is, though, but it's his first acting gig.
Tiny Lister.
Yeah.
And he's a boxer, which is important because he's not a bum. He's a legit fighting kind of guy. So he's beating up Danny Trejo early on. I saw that on the film credits, and I was like, oh, this is one of his films.
Yeah, Danny Trejo actually didn't get. His only scene was in the window where he yells out and gives a finger. It's because the beginning of the Worden was on an interview, and basically they're all calling him a piece of shit because the guy in the who controls the music and all that stuff in there, basically he's in there. He's an older guy. He doesn't give a shit anymore. He's been in it for long. Mm-hmm. Eric Robert goes up and he's like, dude, broadcast these are the news. They put him on there. So he does this, causes a riot. And I gotta say, this was crazy. They were flooding their toilets. They're lighting some fire, throwing it, and just like a mess. You watch the Worden, played by John P. Ryan, Warden Rankin, just walking in. He's surrounded by his goons, 4 cops, come out of his car. He looks like he might as well been like a Russian Soviet general in Goldeneye, Yeah. Just walking down and just like, and so later on, like they said, they show like if the guards knock down the door and obviously turn the music on before the Warden gets there because they don't want the Warden hearing this shit, the interview, because the Warden was humiliated on live television. But anyway, they later on, like the prisoners get blasted by the water, the fire hoses. They spray them in their cells to try and calm them down. It's just like, man, like you could tell this place was shithole compared to Alcatraz. Alcatraz was much more structured.
Yeah, and the other thing too is this movie, the first act is basically the breakout. It's just like a prison break and a riot, but there's something different about it too. The two things that stick out is one, I mentioned how the Warden really sticks out here, and I didn't realize how big a role he would play.
Yeah,
I just thought it was about them breaking out and dealing with each other and the train bit, right? So it draws you in. But the thing about it is, even though for a Cannon film, I would call this big budget, you look at it and go, you know what? No CGI here, no extra special effects or any of that other kind of crap. It's very basic and simple. But like when the Warden's walking down with the goons that you're talking about, right? They're lighting like the rolls of toilet paper on fire and throwing them from the second, third floor. You get shots of just how cramped it is. It's not this big spacious prison. And the beauty of all this, it's supposed to be in Alaska. So wherever they filmed it at, which are probably Washington somewhere or Canada, it looks like the lighting, it's that gloomy kind of fallish, winterish, early spring, just really long light that's not very bright kind of thing, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And so I'm walking around going, you're right, this just feels different. I'm not gonna say it looks cheap because it's not, but the point is you don't need to do a lot. It looks grungy, and it is grungy. It's supposed to look that way.
Yeah. So I'm not sure. I'm going to see where they actually showed the thing, but they showed that the trains was based in Alaska. Yeah, you're right with that.
So the idea is that this is a not top secret, but it's a maximum security prison because he's broken out of a couple of them. So him and Eric Roberts, what happens is Eric Roberts gets some trust, kind of gets them through there and all that, and they go through a shithole, literally the sewage, because it goes out from where they're at into the water. And here's the thing: there's fucking snow everywhere. This is a legit shot. This is awesome.
What do you think of when you also see Jon Voight stripping off his clothes, he's rubbing himself with grease, and then wrapping himself with Saran wrap?
I loved it, and I was just going to mention, I think that's an incredible scene because it's to keep a layer in between you with the Saran wrap. It's cheap, it's effective, it's grimy feeling, and there's something about the whole idea of going into the earth and kind of technically being reborn by coming out through the gutter and all that into the water, like a cleansing ritual. If you want to be philosophical, that's very apparent what it's supposed to be.
But my question is that it's that Eric Roberts kept his boxers on.
Yeah,
where Voight was like, we couldn't see nothing. He was in the dark, but you could tell that he had nothing on.
But you see them stripping down. It's not like they cut away. So it's just they're not drawing attention to what's going to happen
Voight's
here.
Not
they're
that
just saying
good looking either.
Happening. Like he's not ugly, but he's normal.
No. Yeah,
right.
He's kind of like the way he's built is kind of like a Fred Ward or what's the other guy I was thinking of? Charles Bronson.
Bronson was an athletic specimen.
It wasn't fit. Yeah, more fit. But I'm saying like the wide shoulders and stuff like that.
Voight's, he's just an average guy that wasn't like fat or not a shape.
But like I said, like when I think of Jon Voight, I think of Anaconda and I think of this movie. I'm trying to think what other movies he was in other than maybe the first Tomb Raider movie.
Well, yeah, and it's when you go back, you're going to look at.
National Treasure.
You're going to sit there and say he's done a lot more than you think. You're like,
Yeah.
I've seen him in all these. But yeah, this sticks out. So what it is basically Eric Roberts is like, take me with you, take me with you. He's like, no.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm going here. And he follows him. And Eric's,
Like
it's two sides of the coin. You got Jon Voight leading the way through the shithole, literally in the dark, and it looks that way. And you got Eric reacting physically to everything because that's his role. So you've got the mental side and you've got the physical side, and then they get into the water. And I like how they, Eric's suffering from frostbite,
300 feet drop.
Yeah, because I'm telling you, that's going to happen. So they end up basically at this train station where they're trying to like get some clothes and all that. Jon Voight doesn't want him to steal, but he's like, I gotta have shoes. They have an argument. You kind of redefine their relationship a little bit during this. Some people might almost see them, but then something happens. Not only do they go to get on a train to get out of there, Jon Voight's very apparent that he's not going to be taken alive, and so he just has this faraway look in his eye about how big he recognizes the magnitude of the moment of what he's doing. Whereas Eric Roberts doesn't. And so that's where they have these kind of verbal conflicts. And once they get going on this train, we find out there's basically three things going on. We start seeing a subplot of, which I thought was done very well, of the people that operated the train, because this is the only train that goes in and out to where they're at. So you've got that group of people and what that's like. You've got, of course, the people we're talking about here, because Rebecca De Mornay's character is in there too, a woman. And then all of a sudden we get the warden who's going like, thank you, God, for giving me the opportunity to hunt this guy down and kill him. So they're getting a helicopter, chase them down. So you have these three things moving around, and once they get rolling here, it starts getting a lot more serious. Like I say, philosophically, this is not an action movie. It really is like a drama.
Yeah,
I think of it, except for some of the stuff.
It is. It's an action, kind of a thriller, suspense, a little bit. I love the fact that it's how Danny Trejo got his first role in this because Edward Bunker, I believe, who was a former convict who had just got out of jail back in 1979. So basically, he focused on being a writer and a creator. And he just happened to come across Danny Trejo, and he just like, he was as an extra. He's like, dude, here. And then I love how Danny Trejo is like, dude, it's like, I got $300 a day, more than when I ever robbed banks. So that's why Danny Trejo just became an actor.
Well, good for him.
Yeah, I know. So I said, like, it's just a way how that happened for him getting a break, and which applies to this in this movie. Jon Voight tells him, he's like, Eric Roberts, he's like, no, you're gonna get a job. You're gonna work 9 to 5, whatever. You're gonna clean the spot. When the guy tells you that, you're gonna look down, because if you don't, you're gonna want to kill him, and you don't want to do that. You're gonna sit there, shut the hell up. You're gonna soak it all of this in, and then on Friday you're going to get your paycheck, and then you're going to keep doing that because you're going to hold on to that because, and I love how Eric goes, I can't do that. He's like, I ain't gonna fucking lower my standard. He's trying to set him an example. Dude, if you want to stay out of jail, this is what you do,
Yeah. He was telling him how to survive.
Because at this point, if you haven't figured it out, Jon Voight, he's in there. He knows he's not going to go back.
Yes.
Yeah, and so he's trying to keep this, to speak the sense of this kid who's a boxer, whatever. Hey, like, you need to understand this. Is get through your sick skull. This life ain't for you. You're a pretty boy.
Yeah.
Go do a job, and just stay out of trouble. Respect. Respect is earned. But so I like this with Eric Roberts, and it teaches them that. But Eric Roberts, of course, his character has to have a smart. I can never fucking do that, and he's like, he asked Jon Voight, "Well, you could ever do that?" He's like, and John, I love Jon Voight's. Do you remember what he said? His answer or response to that?
What's that?
Basically, in the sense is that Jon Voight says, like, no, I wish I could,
right,
but I can't. I'm not that type of person,
right? Right,
because he realizes that, because if he could be a good person, his life would be so different. But the fact that he's done so much, he realizes he can't change who he is. Yep. Where this kid can.
Well, when you're younger at that time, I think one of the things we've talked about as far as the themes on Extreme Movie Show, like in the 70s, is we've talked about how Dirty Harry, there's definitely an element of the liberalism that was taking over in the court system, and how after World War II, the post-war boom, a lot of reshaping around the world. Communism has got its fingers in universities and this and that, and some of the more progressive type leanings, and how Dirty Harry seems to be, even though he's he's a merc basically, where he works for. He's a government agent, but he's having conflicts with it. We start to see how cops start and get turned into being goofballs and dumbasses. Same thing with wardens and prisoners, instead of being bad people or whatever like that, killers. Now it's all about us looking for them. So there's definitely this switch going on. Definitely in the 80s, there was a de-emphasizing, I'd say as least far back as the 70s, of the father figure in the two-parent classical American household that isn't really well represented anymore, I think, in pop culture. And so when you have this very obvious dynamic between these two, where Eric Roberts is just basically like, it seems like he didn't have the father that says, son, you're going to eat a lot of shit in life. You got to learn how to deal with it, because that's life. That doesn't mean you can't get what you want or be happy, and you're going to have to work hard to give yourself a chance. A typical speech, preparing you for being an adult. And it's great because the farther they go along, the deeper the conversations they have, and really just off the cuff arguments. It's not like they're sitting down and talking. Whatever's going on in the situation, something tense is happening, and then they react to it differently, so much so that they almost want to get into a fist fight at one point. And then Mornay's character comes up, and you go, oh God, is she going to be a shit stirrer? And she's really not, which I'm thankful for. That could have been very easy for him to do, or as like a love interest. But what you start seeing in Jon Voight is this turning from, like I say, understanding the magnitude of the moment, what's going to happen to him, and realizes, and this is probably his last flicker of life, where he sees in Eric Roberts somebody that at this point, young in his age, has the opportunity to possibly redeem himself or become a man. And so he's not so much interested in Eric Roberts, but so much as just basically saying, kid, you got to understand this is what's going on, because he doesn't know. And what's interesting too, I think the symbolism is very apparent. Shit really starts happening when they get on the train, because the conductor on there, it's really, really cold out. He has a heart attack. So you get them going really fast, and then you get the group of people conducting the train from afar with computers, which back then in the 80s is a big deal. It was aboard a bunch of blinking lights, and they talk it out so you can understand it as a viewer. They try to derail it, and it doesn't happen. And it's awesome, because when you work in manufacturing or some big time discipline, logistics and situations, things do not always go the way you want. And it happens too, because now this just magnifies the situation you're in. So I'm thinking this whole second act going into the third act is incredible, but I wanted to hear from you what you thought the purpose of Rebecca De Mornay showing up is in that whole thing.
Well, I guess they add another thing to the mix, because at first when they're on the train, these people who are running the switch room, don't realize that there's people on the train. So when she wakes up, she basically passed, she had a concussion, she passed out, and she woke up, and then she pulls the horn. That causes problems for them, because originally they were just going to derail the train. That actually saves their lives. So having her on there adds more. Just, I guess, basically gives Jon Voight more of a sense to push to do what's right, because he's gonna basically gonna kill himself if he has to. He said he's not gonna go taken. But then also just to prove, that he can be a hero, because the warden says you're no hero, and he's gonna do whatever he can, and even with his hand early in the warden basically tried to actually let him out in the field. He had somebody try to stab him. He got stabbed in the hand. So this military time, his left hand's been bleeding. It's been wrapped up. And it really just gets going once he gets on the train and just.
And this stuff is so simple, so effective. It's so gross, and that's the beauty of when I talk about having a big budget film with CGI. $200-300 million cannot convey what it's like to just have a scene where you can see where somebody's hand gets stabbed, or her side, and you see it progressing disgustingly with lots of blood as it goes on, and it's not that bright. Pinkish almost blood that you always popped at, with the fake blood and back in the Dirty Harry movies. This is the 80s that the blood got dark and grungy.
Oh yeah, the mix they made, the darker cornstarch and stuff, like they use it for all the horror movies stuff. They started using a darker material, make it look real, because they why? Because they couldn't actually get away with it before they had to make it cutesy. So I think something changed as far as the media rights and stuff or something like that, or code or whatever, because I know comics only had a code where you couldn't do certain things in the comic book, and I wonder if they went across to movies as well, because otherwise you get this really bad rating,
things changed definitely in the 70s with R-rated films and X-rated films.
So bringing her in actually adds more of a problem for them, and you get to see how Eric Roberts acts around her too. Obviously, he shows his true colors, right? But he doesn't go where I thought he was going to go. I thought he's going to end up becoming a hindrance and end up becoming like he's going to like try and rape her because they kind of joked about it, hinted at even because you don't know his character. All I know is that he's kind of he's not all there, and I expected him to be a thorn because that's what Hollywood do. They have I'm gonna turn on the old man because I'm not going back. Screw you. The old man tries to do what's right. So I'm kind of glad they didn't go that way. But I want to go back to one of the guys working with the switch room. You see he's the guy with the coke. That's TK Carter. Yeah, he's been in a few other things. Obviously, He's My Girl was his other big movie he did.
Okay.
That movie. But he's also from Southern Comfort, which reviewed.
Oh, really? Is that right?
He's the black guy. It's in the switch.
Southern Comfort, ladies and gentlemen, is a Walter Hill film from 1981, 82. So, it's a great film as well.
It was nice to see him pop up, and he actually kind of steals the show because the other guy is kind of like a crappy lesser version, like a Steve Guttenberg wannabe. Or Paul Reiser wannabe, I'd say.
You could not stop either in the 80s. God.
I know, but I mean,
only Phil Collins was above them.
So, but also Carmen Phillippi's in this. You're Carmen Philippi or Philippi?
Philippi?
Yeah, he was in Halloween 4: Return. He's also in The Boys Next Door, Alligator 2: Mutation, Wedding Singer, Beetlejuice. The guy just popped up. He's a switch operator. The guy in the truck.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he had to run across. And I'm pretty sure he was in Old School, wasn't he? Wasn't he like you're my boy Blue?
I don't recall. I do not recall.
I want to say he probably was. He looks so dang familiar. But he was in Dr. Detroit. He's in a lot of movies. But he's basically known for The Thing in Runaway Train. He was Knowles in the 1982 The Thing. But yeah, the dude I like or I like him. He's a good actor. He died in 2003, unfortunately. But
yeah, I think with this film, you're watching it, it surprises you because right when you think it's going one way, it kind of you realize, oh, they're on this path. And so in the second act, you're like, okay, it turned into an action film because the train's going. It's only a couple cabinets. It's snowing out, and again, it's great cinematography. You really feel the cold. You really feel like you're in the middle of nowhere. Right now, you can watch it on Pluto. There's a decent print of it there. And so when they get there, like I say, their arguments get a little bit more intense about the nature of not necessarily it was how they're going to break out, then what they're doing, where they're going, and what does it all mean. So the levels of, like I say, that philosophical thing, obviously, if you're not seeing it, it becomes, I think, more apparent as you're watching it. I think her character represents life, meaning a positive potential outcome. Eric's young, she's young, they could potentially do something right after the argument that they have. But the thing is Eric's struggling with this issue, even though he's a good boxer, of fighting and beating somebody up doesn't mean you're a tough guy. Tough guy is being able to deal with life. And so that's kind of this whole mentality that we're seeing displayed differently by these two, one in a young state, one in an older state. And so we obviously know Voight has displayed his toughness and being smart. He's not a thug. We care about these characters in a way. We know that Eric's physically capable as you are when you're young. And of course that only goes downhill as you get older. But the whole point to all this and why it's important is once it's derailed and they can't stop it, you see the warden getting in the helicopter, and he's going to basically hunt him down, shooting him down. And so that becomes a big scene here, right? Because we're basically at the end. And the thing I liked here is they get a real big argument about who's a tough guy, what does it mean? And they have a physical confrontation. And basically the whole idea is that Eric Roberts is going to go out and try to jump to the other thing and crawl to it to maybe try to turn it off, right? And basically, she's going ape shit, like you're sending them to die, blah, blah, blah. And Eric Roberts is now realizing, I don't know if I can do it, but I got to do it because I think of myself as a tough guy. She's like, oh, God, is Voight fucking him over? Or is he, whatever? Because it's not like he's like, good on you, champ. Give him the old, college try double thumbs up. Eric's just happens to be there while Voight's dealing with the situation.
Yeah, Voight doesn't think of him much being a man. He's kind of a boy still.
Right, he has to prove it. That's right. When somebody's young, they try to do it. So he tries to do it.
Yeah, that's why that's why he's treating him like a boy through this movie because the guy's not a man. Yeah,
but he tried and he failed.
Yeah.
So now Voight goes to do it.
Yeah.
And it gets really fucking crazy at this point in apeshit. I won't say too much other than Voight has a very difficult time getting over there. And you know what? It's so outrageous because you're watching, and I don't know if they must have filmed with another helicopter, obviously. You're watching this train, between shots of the, outside looking down on this train traveling, and you've got a helicopter where the guy's like, lower. We all know the sign, right? And he's
going like 70 miles per hour at almost 80.
But this is a real stunt. That's what makes it awesome. And it goes on forever. They don't just do it for a split second.
It reminds me of Jackie Chan with the helicopter, remember?
Exactly. The Worden goes all the way down there and eventually ends up on there while they have a confrontation. And this, I won't get into too much specifics because it's worth watching, because you go, okay, I hear what you're saying. That doesn't sound exciting. But that's what I was telling you. I honestly thought you wouldn't like this movie because to me, it's more of the drama than the stunt work.
I watched it a long time ago.
It totally works. And all I'm going to say is the ending is the ending. There's a little bit of like Shakespeare or something at the end, some quotes or whatever that. There's no real resolution.
No.
And it's awesome.
You're kind of left as wonder what happened to some of the characters.
True.
Did Eric Roberts, his character, did he end up getting with the girl and just living a normal life, settling down, getting a job, like Jon Voight's Vice? Or did he end up back in jail? Other notable characters here, for those you lovers of Dune, and
there's a lot of people still like the 80s Dune.
I don't know, but Kenneth McMillan's in here too.
Mm-hmm.
He was the fat, ugly, radiated bastard that was in Dune. Vladimir, whatever Hakon or whatever his name was. So, yeah, like I said, look going through the cast, like there's quite a few names in here, But it's kind of cool to see in here. I'm not sure what the Warden's from. I was looking at his IMDb. I guess he's from Delta Force 2, Death Wish 4, Avenging Force. Wow, he's been in quite a few of them.
Yep.
It's Alive. Breathless with Richard Gere.
Yep.
Wow. But that Kenneth guy, McMillan, died 4 years later after this movie.
Jeez.
Yeah. Well, 56 years old.
Yeah, it's young. Wow, that is young.
But his presence when he walked in, he tucks in his shirt and he pulls on his suspenders, walks into the train station room. It's just like, it just reminded me of the old timey kind of stuff, like the guys in the 40s, 50s movies you'd watch. He's like, I don't give a shit. We're gonna do this. We're under, because he's like, they wanted originally to derail the train until they heard the horn blown, and then they're like, oh shit, don't derail it, because they're like, well, if we don't derail it, it's gonna hit that bridge. That bridge can only go max speed is 50, and they're going close to 90.
Yeah.
So like they have to like do it, but finally they finally do get the train onto a dead end switch, and because they basically abandoned the group. So it's Speed before Speed with a better cast.
Yeah, I between this and Speed, I mean, Speed is just a popcorn film. I have no problem with it, but I mean, in terms of depth and all that, it's got nothing on this film.
I kind of want to watch Unstoppable now because I've never watched that one. It's supposed to be like a remake or something like this. I think with Denzel or something like that.
Well, there's a taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3. Oh, you're talking of the other film. Yeah, that's probably a Runaway Train movie as well.
Unstoppable 2010 with Chris Pine and Denzel Washington.
Yeah, forgettable.
Rosario Dawson. Probably. Yeah.
Now, this movie, like I said, it surprised me, and this is a perfect example. We've talked about themes, and we like to say that the 80s gave you a lot of hopeful movies. With a positive ending, very corn syrupy and all that kind of stuff, sugary, saccharine type sweetness. Nothing wrong with that. But there was definitely a dark element of some stuff in there that kind of got crowded out. And those movies like The Thing and this movie did not really do well financially speaking. And even action movies, we said, got away from the mono machismo part to being kind of a joke with lots of explosions and stuff like that. We always say Commando's the turning point. We like to make fun of that as that's the ultimate Father's Day movie. But this movie really, like I said, surprised me because these are the kind of films that I remember growing up watching or wanting some alternative to it. And I don't believe that I had ever really seen this. And if I did, I just don't recall it. But for me, I was blown away by it. And it's nice, like I say, to watch a movie like this that I was a teenager when this was out. Don't really remember the trailer. And I go, I think I heard of it. But this was just this is a really good film.
For
canon.
I know,
just when you go and put out a bunch of stuff that's B or C level, you go and you do this. Damn it. Thank you.
Canon had a lot of success with the bigger names like Chuck Norris, or anything that basically that I'd say probably Michael Dudikoff was doing. Which actually, those were actually, I don't know how
they're solid, but they're not deep. Yeah,
no.
They're action films.
No, but like this was it's a Jon Voight movie. Now, I'm not gonna say that Jon Voight was a D-list actor, but I don't know if he was really an A-list actor compared to some of the names around this time.
He was,
but he had respect.
Big, yeah.
And he's also one of the last conservatives in Hollywood around that time, probably.
He is, and obviously he wears out on the sleeve, especially now in his age. He's some people have an issue with that. I understand that's how it goes.
Isn't he dead?
No,
I thought he died recently.
No, he's still around. Bro.
Is he really? He's got to be like 80, 90s. How's he?
I'm gonna guess 70, 75.
Jon Voight is 85 years old.
Is he 85?
I thought he passed away a couple of years ago. That's why I guess he is, yeah, because no one's talking about him anymore.
Well, because he's 85.
Well, yeah, but but he was getting very political, so he got all the media attention. So I apologize. I thought he actually passed away. Because I guess he's in a Megalopolis. It's a new thing that comes out this year. Movie or show.
Final thoughts.
1938.
Give it to me.
Final thoughts. If you're looking for a good movie and you just got tired of you watch Smokey and the Bandit and you watch the second one and then you're like, oh, this is crap. Then you watch a third one, horrible. You want to redeem yourself. Watch Runaway Train. That is such a fantastic movie. They got the beautiful Rebecca De Mornay, who's also known from Blown Away with Jeff Bridges.
Okay, from the 80s though. What is she known for? Risky Business.
Yeah. But other than that, though,
different train scene, of course.
Well, she didn't have she had a train back then running on her, but this time she doesn't have a train running on her.
Stop.
Whoa! It's Risky Business. What do you think it was? No, but this is a fantastic movie. For those of you who've never seen snow, this is your chance to see snow and how deadly it can be. I was surprised that like the train tracks gonna get frozen because they're in Alaska, man. You get cold temperatures all the way up there. I mean, I get temperatures in Wisconsin are cold, the negatives. Alaska's further up. Like you think they would have included it in the movie, but it's okay. It's a little technicality, but fun movie.
Remember when was it? I don't know.
Oh yeah, I looked up Unstoppable. I don't care to see that. Unstoppable has no human element. All it is basically
we watch it because Denzel's in it.
And yes, an engineer and then Chris Pine, his conductor, had to stop this train carrying a bunch of chemicals that could wipe out the whole entire world if it crashes.
Yeah, nobody cares.
Yeah, I'm like, really? You couldn't just redo this? Denzel as the old and all, like an older.
You could.
Yeah, you could.
But they'd have to put some effort into it.
And
they'd have to own up to the fact that this is like a morality kind of play. It's about examining human beings. It's not about the action.
Like I said, I don't like it when they take out the human if you're going to reboot a movie. But I am looking forward though to maybe possibly reviewing, not maybe next year, Yojimbo.
Absolutely.
Then going through Fistful of Dollars, which is the American remake, and this kind of like comparing because I want to Hirokazu and he was it. I always forget his name. Like you say it like 3 times, I forget it. But
Akira Kurosawa.
Yeah, see exactly. Thank you very much. I want to watch more of his movies and just review them. Yojimbo is really good. Other than that, though, this is on Pluto TV. It's free to watch right now in HD, crisp, clean. Audio is a 10. Video's a 10. Go watch it.
Yeah,
if you haven't watched it.
Do we have a new poll up?
No, I did not put a poll up yet today.
We'll be putting one up here shortly, I think tonight. I know I had a few backstage suggestions I wanted to get in for the next one, so I'll get that over that with you. Yeah, we have it's coming up for Sunday night. That's going to be our review before the holidays, and so we'll be back, first, second week in January on a normal schedule. We'll have a few things dropping by then.
But stop by here on Friday night at 6 o'clock, 7 p.m. Eastern.
For
Forever Night.
Yes.
On Friday night.
Yes.
Yeah. And for those of you who are complaining about the way they say the name Shanky, when it apparently it's supposed to be Skanky, I don't know. It's a gamble at this point if they're going to say the name correctly. I don't know. I don't care.
No, I want to thank some of our passionate listeners for that too, because the problem and frustrating thing about this show is, and I've mentioned online too, is that, hey, it's great that this movie's on Pluto, right? Great print and all that.
Yeah.
But trying to find Forever Night or some of these late 80s, early 80s things, the quality of the prints are suspect, as well as the editing can make it look like different things. So I swear I've heard different things about it, but some people are, you mispronounce it, or it's a running joke. Like I was saying LaCroix, like the water, even though it's Le Croix, and I don't speak French, but that's just how people care about it. So, and I can't blame anybody for that too. It's an interesting show because it's about a vampire trying not to be a vampire, and like I say, this was before the real takeoff of vampires in the 90s being 150 pounds soaking wet, moody looking brat guys, not vicious beasts that are sexually powerful or anything like that at all. It's a totally different thing, and it's kind of a low budget late night thing that was on CBS for a while in the 90s, and it's Canadian, so it's a little different. So I like it. It's a lot of fun. So we're finishing up the first season here, and then we'll move on to another TV show after that.
Yeah. Like I said, I butcher names all the time, and it's nothing meant to be ill. It's just that I sometimes, honestly, I cannot remember how to pronounce a name, especially if it's a name I'm not used to saying all the time.
Unique New York.
Yuri Kwanzaa. I can't. Like I said.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night, guys. And as always, if you can, leave a comment down below. Let us know what you thought of this review and also thought of the movie. If you've seen it, let us know down below. And also click like, subscribe, and check out our playlist. I got a Christmas playlist up on the channel. You can go through the older movies we've done reviewed, show them some love, and we'll see you on Friday night for Forever Night at 7 p.m. Eastern. Later.